You see that sign there behind me? It's actually from the early days of the Green Line. A relic of an LRT plan that now only lives in documents at City Hall and one guy's imagination, Shane Keating. He was a city councillor until 2021, a politician who, for several decades, was beating the drum for this project, guiding it through various trials and tribulations, or as he put it,
without my continual harassment on the Green Line, it may not have got off the ground.
He's happy, but the news this week is bittersweet.
It should not come as a surprise that we are unable to build as much of the Green Line as we thought was possible back in 2015.
Wasted days and wasted nights. All we've done is increase the cost and get a little bit of a smaller project to start, which is unfortunate.
Council voted to cut 6 stations from phase 1 of the Green Line. Its budget went from $5.5 billion to $6.2 billion, making for an LRT project that will now run from Eau Claire to Linwood-Milliken, losing the rest of what should have been built in the south, making it much shorter than anticipated. To understand how we got here, first we have to take a step back. The Green Line was actually first cobbled together from plans imagined in the 80s. There were mentions here and there of transit corridors and LRT stations. But building a train is pricey, so when it became time to make a plan for South Calgary, that started out as the Setway, the Southeast Transitway.
And that was a dedicated bus lane route, if you want to call it, or the beginning of the LRT. Didn't include the north at that time, but we said, we've got to start somewhere.
Planning and engagement was happening to transform the bus routes to railways when the city could afford that next step. But Keating thought, why wait? He'd cooked up a funding idea, set aside tax dollars that typically would go to the province over the course of 30 years.
That was the difference between how we started, listening to the residents and making sure that this is a city shaping project rather than just a transit project.
So the city hatches a funding plan for 1/3 of the costs and tries to sell the feds on much more than that bus route. They pitch a vision: transit from north to south, bare bones, no fancy tunnels, all street level, and an LRT instead of buses. The cost about $4.5 billion all in. The feds bite. Then MP Jason Kenney makes the announcement.
Our government will contribute up to 1/3 of the costs for the public transit system proposal, approximately $1.53 billion, once a formal application has been received and approved.
And the project will be finished by 2024. Then a couple years later, the province agrees to chip in the final third, with then Premier Rachel Notley saying part of the route will be up and running by 2026.
The Green Line will give an estimated 65,000 people every day a clean and energy-efficient way to get to work, to school, and wherever they need to be.
Obviously, that timeline is way off, and there are a few reasons why. With 3 levels of government equally sharing the costs, there are some competing desires at play and politics. A lot of it concerns downtown.
It was determined, that an at-grade through the core was not feasible. So you only had 2 options, and that was elevate or underground. We heard loud and clear from all of the downtown major players to not do above grade.
The city wanted to put 4 stations underground and have a train pass under the Bow River, all of which meant spending more money. There were also questions about breaking this mega project into 3 different contracts, one for the south leg, another for downtown, and the final leg for the north.
Calgary is in distress right now, and it's not going to pull out overnight. There's no magic bullet. So our reputation, as well as our fiscal integrity, is on the line. And so we cannot afford not to get this right.
That same year, the city announced change of plans. It would go over the Bow instead of under.
We looked at where you would have to have elevators that took people down 7 stories to get onto a C train station. We had the reports that all said this would work, but was it the right decision? And so we looked at a number of things and we decided it's far better financially and ease of access if we actually come up and go over the river with a bridge rather than underneath.
And at this point, confidence in the project started to waver.
No, I think we're ready to move forward, and we should move forward. Every day we delay costs way more money.
A consultant's report from the province had raised several concerns about the project, including its design. So in 2020, the city officially hit pause, right when the city was ready to start moving on contracts.
The city had to agree to a pause simply because the province said, we're reviewing it, we're not giving you any money until we review it. When you're under the thumb, you do what the thumb says because they controlled the purse, and their review didn't change anything. And then they finally agreed that it was a good project to go ahead with.
It wasn't until the province approved a new business plan for the Green Line in 2021 that things got back on track. And stage 1 would include construction of the Southeast Line and downtown. The budget is pegged at about $5.5 billion, with construction possible in 2022. The city then hires a Green Line CEO, giving a lot more certainty with every dollar spent. But at this point, finding the people to actually put shovels in the ground and begin construction is years behind schedule, and inflation has taken its toll. Delivering what's on paper for stage 1 within the existing budget, that's unlikely. The Green Line CEO tried to make things work under the project's new realities. And when push came to shove, there was only so much the team says they could do without changing the plans.
When you start something like this and you want to see it end, it's always there, and you're always thinking of it.
Thinking of what could have been, time he believes was wasted, but like a train conductor keeping to schedule, he's all aboard for whatever's next, as long as that includes building the rest of the Green Line.
You're not always looking backwards, but you should be looking forwards, and that's what this project actually does.